Hello, friends. Today, we will talk about 15 criminals who made shocking and bizarre last meal requests before their execution. You may have heard in movies, what is your last wish before you die? But in real life, death row inmates are given the right to choose their final meal. However, some criminals took advantage of this in ways that will leave you stunned. While some asked for a single olive, others wanted to eat dirt, and some simply drank a cup of black coffee before saying goodbye to the world. But the most shocking cases were those who ordered meals they had never eaten before. Luxurious, extravagant, and utterly bizarre dishes. Number 1, James Edward Smith. James Edward Smith was one of history's most unusual criminals. In 1983, he brutally murdered a Texas businessman, Larry Rojas. He wasn't an ordinary criminal. His mind worked in strange ways. After being sentenced to death, June 18th, 1990, was the day of his execution. But before that, his last meal request left prison officials in shock. Most prisoners asked for their favorite food, dessert, or a luxurious meal. But James, he requested dirt. Yes, soil. He believed that consuming sacred soil was a spiritual ritual that would purify his soul in the next life. However, his request was denied, and instead, he was given a cup of yogurt. Number 2, Victor Harry Faguer. Victor Faguer's final request was one of the most bizarre in history. He was a criminal in the 1950s, but the crime that led him to execution happened in 1960. He kidnapped and murdered Dr. Edward Butts, though his motives remain a mystery. Shortly after, he was arrested and sentenced to death. His execution date was March 15th, 1963. Before dying, his last wish shocked everyone. He did not ask for a lavish feast or gourmet meal. Instead, he requested just one olive, with the pit still inside. After his execution, when his autopsy was conducted, doctors found that he had eaten the olive, but had not removed the pit. Some believe he did this in hopes that an olive tree, a symbol of peace, would grow from his grave. Number 3, Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh was responsible for one of America's deadliest terrorist attacks. On April 19th, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing killed 168 innocent people and left hundreds injured. The explosion was so devastating that its impact still lingers today. Soon after, Timothy was captured, sentenced to death, and given a lethal injection on June 11th, 2001. But before his execution, his final meal request shocked everyone. Can you guess what he asked for? Timothy McVeigh did not request a lavish meal or an expensive dish. Instead, he asked for a simple bowl of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Just one bowl and nothing more. Was he truly indifferent to his own death? Or was this a reflection of his cold and calculated mindset? No regret, no remorse. His execution was as cold as the ice cream he chose for his last meal. Number 4, Stephen Michael Woods, Jr. Stephen Michael Woods, Jr. was responsible for a brutal double murder in Texas in 2001. 2 innocent people, the Runnels brothers, were shot multiple times in a gruesome crime that shocked the entire region. Woods was arrested and sentenced to death on September 13th, 2011. He was executed via lethal injection, but before his death, his last meal request was nothing short of a royal feast. His order included 2 pounds of bacon, 4 fried chicken breasts, 4 large meat pizzas, Pepsi, root beer, Mountain Dew, and 2 glasses of sweet tea, 2 ice creams with bacon, 2 hamburgers, 5 chicken fried steaks, French fries, a mountain of garlic breadsticks. It was not a last meal. It was a banquet fit for a king. It seemed like he had no remorse for his crimes, but instead, he was celebrating his final night. Number 5, Clyde Coleman. Clyde Coleman's crime was as horrifying as his last meal request was strange. In the 1970s, Texas witnessed a terrifying murder when a woman was brutally killed in her This wasn't a premeditated crime. Coleman acted purely out of his twisted impulses. After murdering her, he even robbed her house. However, he didn't escape for long and was soon captured. The court showed no mercy and sentenced him to death. On April 5th, 1990X, he was executed via lethal injection, but his last meal request left everyone puzzled. He didn't ask for a feast, a fancy dish, or even a proper meal. Instead, he requested just one packet of candy. No steak, no expensive meal, just candy. A request that was as bizarre as it was unsettling. Number 6, David Wayne Stoker. David Wayne Stoker was a cold-blooded criminal who took the life of an innocent man over money. In 1986, Stoker entered a Texas gas station and attempted to rob 51-year-old James Hazelton, a hard-working employee. When Hazelton resisted, Stoker mercilessly shot him dead and fled the scene. But justice caught up with him. He was arrested, found guilty of murder, and sentenced to death. On June 16, 1997, he was executed via lethal injection. However, before his death, his last meal request shocked everyone. Before his execution, David Wayne Stoker requested a surprisingly simple meal: chicken fried steak with gravy salad, French fries with ketchup, butter rolls, a cup of tea. Despite his modest request, justice caught up with him, just as he had mercilessly ended James Hazelton's life. His crimes led him to the very fate he had forced upon his innocent victim. Number 7, Johnny Frank Garrett. Johnny Frank Garrett's heinous crime shook Texas to its core. In 1981, Garrett was accused of murdering a 62-year-old nun, Sister Tadia Benz, in an unimaginably horrific attack. He not only brutally killed her, but also committed unspeakable acts against her. The court found him guilty and sentenced him to death. On February 11th, 1992, he was executed by lethal injection. But before his execution, his last meal request shocked everyone. He didn't ask for an extravagant feast, just chocolate cake, ice cream. A simple yet strange request. It seemed like an ordinary choice, yet it didn't align with the dark and brutal world he had created with his crimes. Number 8, Gerald Lee Mitchell. Gerald Lee Mitchell's crimes were as cold-blooded as they were terrifying. In 1985, Texas witnessed a gruesome double murder when Mitchell shot and killed 18-year-old Deborah Evant and 20-year-old Charles Marino during a robbery. Their deaths were instant and merciless. The court found him guilty and sentenced him to death. On October 22, 2001, Mitchell was executed via lethal injection, but before he died, his last meal request stunned everyone. He didn't ask for a grand feast. Instead, he only wanted one thing: a Twix chocolate bar. The request left prison officials speechless. Most inmates ask for elaborate meals, but Mitchell's single chocolate bar made his dark past seem even more mysterious. Number 9, James Beathard. James Beathard's name is linked to one of the most horrifying crimes in Texas history. In 1984, Beathard committed a massacre, taking the lives of an innocent family. James Beathard was responsible for a cold-blooded triple murder. He shot and killed Senior, 45, his wife Linda, 34, and their 14-year-old son, Marcus. This was not a crime of passion. It was a murder-for-hire case. The court found him guilty, and he was sentenced to death by lethal injection on December 9th, 1969. His last meal request: potato chips, soda top, ramen noodles. A simple choice for an ordinary person, but no amount of food could erase the horror of his crimes. Number 10, Ronnie Lee Gardner, the man who chose a firing squad. In 1985, during a bank robbery in Salt Lake City, Ronnie Lee Gardner shot and killed security guard Michael Burke. He was trying to escape arrest, but his reckless crime sealed his fate. On June 18th, 2010, he was executed by firing squad, the last person in the U.S. to be executed this way. His last meal request: steak lobster tail apple pie with vanilla ice cream, a can of 7, yup. But what made his final hours even stranger was his decision to fast for 48 hours, watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and read the book Divine Justice, a chilling way to prepare for the end. Number 11. Alan Lee Davis, the brutal murderer who ordered a feast. Alan Lee Davis committed a horrific crime in 1982. He brutally beat to death a pregnant woman, Nancy Wheeler, and then shot her 2 daughters, 9-year-old Christina and 5-year-old Catherine. Nancy was beaten beyond recognition, and the children were shot at close range. Catherine even tried to escape, but Davis shot her in the head and then bludgeoned her with his gun. For this monstrous crime, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection, carried out on July 24th, 1999. But before his execution, he requested an enormous last meal: lobster tail fried potatoes, half a pound of fried potatoes, half a pound of fried shrimp, 6 ounces of fried clams, half a loaf of garlic bread, 950 milliliters of root beer,